Oh, hello, I'm Peter Pan. Welcome to 5 facts that you might not know about Peter Pan. I know what you're thinking. No, I didn't make this outfit special for this episode. I already had it lying around. That sounds worse, doesn't it? Number 1, the character of Peter Pan was first introduced to the world by author J.M. Barrie in 1902 in the book The Little White Bird. In this book, Peter Pan is said to be 7 years old. What? I didn't know Peter Pan was so young. Anyway, they don't mention his age in the Peter Pan books that would follow in 1904 and 1911, though they do mention that he still had all of his baby teeth. I don't know much about kids. I do have a dog though, so if they're anything like him, he was 1. While we all think of Peter Pan as a fun story, why else would I have a Peter Pan outfit? The initial inspiration for Peter Pan was a bit more tragic, as Barrie's older brother David died the day before his 14th birthday in an ice skating accident. This devastated Barrie's mother, as, you know, you would imagine it would, but she found comfort in the idea that he would never grow old and he would live on as a boy forever. Sound like anybody you've heard about in classic literature? Barrie also found much inspiration from his close friends, the Llewellyn Davis family. This friendship and story is told in the Johnny Depp film Finding Neverland. In fact, all of the 5 boys in that family have a character named after them. So isn't that something? Number 2, today Peter Pan is one of the most beloved stories of our time. It has been adapted to many films, the first being in 1924 in a film that Barrie actually was able to have a hand in, and it was similarly based on the play of the same name. At some point before his death in 1937, Barrie handed the rights to Peter Pan over to the Great Ormond Street Hospital, otherwise known as GOSH. GOSH, that's fun to say, continued to hold the rights until the 50 year after the author's death came about in 1987, but then they revamped the law and then they got the rights back at some point in the 90s, and a whole mess that I don't feel like talking about, especially in a Peter Pan outfit, but it's the type of thing that would rival Marvel. Number 3, many people alive today were first introduced to Peter Pan in the Disney classic known as Peter Pan. But would you believe this is an animated film that almost never happened? Probably took some magic pixie dust to get this thing off the ground. I guess you would believe that because I just told you, and this is, of course, movie facts. First off, it took 4 years for Walt Disney to obtain the rights from, you guessed it, GOSH. After getting the rights, pre-production began in the late 30s, but then on December 7th, 1941, a day which has since actually lived in infamy, Pearl Harbor, you guessed it. So after the United States entered World War II, the military took over Walt Disney Studios and encouraged them to make propaganda films. America, America. Come on, America. This forced Disney to put several of its big projects on hold. After the war, it wasn't until 1947 that Disney was financially stable enough once again to pick up on the production of the classic film. There were many different ideas thrown around for making the story of Peter Pan. The original was that Peter Pan would actually come into Wendy's house and kidnap her and take her to Neverland so that she could be a mommy to all of the lost boys. Walt eventually decided that this was a little too dark for a kids movie and decided to drop it, then making the story what we know and love today, which if you want to know about, go rent it. Number 4, in the 1980s, Steven Spielberg and Walt Disney Studios began developing a live-action version of the classic Peter Pan story. The project eventually moved over to Paramount, where in 1985, Steven Spielberg dropped off the project. In the meantime, writer James V. Hart was trying to figure out a way to bring a new spin on the story of Peter Pan. His son had drawn a picture of Captain Hook and he was like escaping from a shark, and he was like, hey kid, what is that a picture of? And the kid's like, hey, it's Captain Hook, and he actually didn't get eaten by the crocodile. He actually escaped from the crocodile and now he is, you know, alive and well. Well, James V. Hart really liked this concept and decided to think more towards what if storylines. And then he got thinking and he was like, what if Peter Pan had gotten old? What would that look like? Which I think is a really cool way to approach a story, and that movie is now known as, you guessed it, Hook. Number 5. When a movie is in production for a long time, it generally goes through a lot of hands, and so you get a lot of interesting stories that come out of that. One of the funniest, at one point, Michael Jackson, the king of pop, was approached to play the part of Peter Pan. While he was interested, he didn't like the idea of Peter Pan being old and having forgotten his roots. No, I think the script is ignorant. They're ignorant. David Bowie, another singer, I don't know why they're picking a lot of singers, he was approached and offered the role of Captain Hook, though he turned it down. I suspect, though, the reason he did was because he didn't want that kind of pressure. And in an uncredited role, Carrie Fisher actually wrote the dialogue for Tinkerbell, eventually played by Julia Roberts. Thanks so much for watching this episode. That got a little bit darker than I expected. Wearing this outfit, I'm a little embarrassed at this point. Either way, if you like what you see here, then you might might want to check out my other channel, youtube.com/SayGoodnightKevin. Click the link over there. Also, be sure to subscribe to this because if you do, then you get to see other movie facts and then you get to keep up with all the coolest facts that you've ever heard of right here on Movie Facts. That's all I gotta say. My name is Kevin, aka Peter Pan, and those are the facts. Goodbye.